Well, it's time for Media Watch now, and James Credon is with us in the studio. Hello there,
Hi, Laura.
James. And James, you are taking us back to our top story, a very sad story. Here we are again in the wake of yet another shooting, the 18th school shooting in the United States. And let's not forget, it is February the 15th. I mean, this is absolutely unbelievable. The politicians have been coming out with their prayers and their best wishes and their condolences, but nobody's talking about changing the gun laws.
Well, it's kind of the headlines, I think, say a lot on this. Starting with The Independent in the UK, you can almost sense the exasperation and the sort of fatigue with just the repetitive nature of this. Another American high school shooting. Meanwhile, the New York Daily News, the thing we once called unthinkable has happened nearly 300 times since Sandy Hook. An early look at Thursday's front page, and you can see down the barrel of a gun. This is us. This is US. I'm not sure if there's wordplay there, but certainly depressing. We're averaging one school shooting every 60 hours in 2018. Wow. That's the Huffington Post with that statistic. Worse than a third world country. Now, there were comments on that saying, actually, this is not really a phenomenon in the developing world. And this tweet, I thought, said it very well. This is a peculiarly American phenomenon, and that's in reference there to the response by the Florida governor. But it's such a regular occurrence now that Florida is being dubbed the gunshine state as opposed to the sunshine state. It's rather grim.
Right, and I mentioned the politicians. Donald Trump, of course, among them. He gave a national address a short while ago, and he talked about mental illness and how that is the problem. It hasn't actually been ascertained whether or not the suspect suffered from a mental illness. But anyway, that's what he's talking about. He didn't mention guns. He didn't mention gun laws.
That's
what are
right.
people saying about that?
Well, the fact that the Miami New Times is mentioning the fact that the shooter was too disturbed to carry a backpack because there was a fear that he could be carrying, for example, weapons in the backpack. But yet
teachers were terrified of him.
That's right, and yet he was able to go off and buy that gun. And this one of Donald Trump's tweets in that regard, talking about being mentally disturbed. This is prior to the press conference. Was, a lot of people replying to that saying, one in particular saying, just remember what you did, take responsibility for your decisions. So that tweet is being put alongside an NBC headline where Trump signed a bill revoking an Obama-era gun check for people with mental illness. So, this is obviously very damaging in that regard. But of course, America is so polarised now that people are just really stuck in their echo chambers and they're not necessarily going to be convinced by even this. Marco Rubio, we were just talking about that a while ago. Senator Marco Rubio reacts to the deadly Florida gun school shooting. This is Fox News taking that tweet there. I think it's important to know that all of what happened before jumping to conclusions, he said. Now, take a look at this collection of Marco Rubio thoughts and prayers tweets after X number of shootings. This is getting a little bit recurrent. And of course, the fact that he has taken quite a lot of money from the National Rifle Association, sees him dubbed here by the Miami New Times as an NRA stooge who needs to STFU about Parkland. In other words, keep quiet. You're really not in a position to talk here in any moral position.
People are looking now, aren't they, at who the NRA funds, which members of Congress get the most money from the NRA, which is the most powerful lobby in America.
That's right. So we kept coming across this figure, 3.3 million, which I then went off just to see if that had been, verified. And the New York Times does have a kind of a, speaking of the thoughts and prayers and NRA funding, this rather shocking list of politicians in the US who have taken lobbying funds from the NRA for their political campaigns and whatnot. Look at those numbers. They're just eye-watering. $7.7 million for John McCain. And actually, Marco Rubio is down the list somewhere at, I think, number 8.
Number 6,
there he is, number 6 at 3.3. Anyway, just to kind of keep going on that theme, where this is one tweet showing an image of the cycle that we're faced with constantly in this regard. The mass shooting, followed by thoughts and prayers, followed by debate. Then people forget, although I'm not sure everyone forgets really, Congress doesn't do anything, and crickets start chirping, and it happens.
Las Vegas really wasn't that long ago, was it?
No, so it keeps happening again. Now, there's one exchange here that I think is quite powerful. This is a Fox News presenter who sort of didn't want to see the usual debate coming out again. Can the left let the families grieve for even 24 hours before they push their anti-gun and anti-gun owner agenda? Now, she got a reply from one of the students who was hiding out in the school for 2 hours. And Carly, as I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl. I think it's a guy. I was hiding in a closet for 2 hours. It was about guns. You weren't there. You don't know how it felt. Guns give these disgusting people the ability to kill other human beings. This is about guns, and this is about all the people who had their life abruptly ended because of guns. So I think that put Tomi Lahren back in her proverbial box for the moment.
Did she come back at that? Or?
I don't think she did. I think she just let that one go.
Fell into conspicuous silence.
That's right. Some cartoons, it's obviously not the easiest one to, draw about, but it's obviously dark humour. This is a cartoon depicting mass shooting controls cards and mall, school, church. What are you going to pick? So obviously that's pretty dark. And here is Uncle Sam, in other words, I suppose the legislature, in terms of not legislating, protecting the NRA in the form of a sort of human being there after another shooting. And I think this is probably an appropriate one to finish with. Hashtags Florida shooting and gun control now are trending on social media, with that image appearing now and again as well.
Yeah. And as one educator, I believe, at that school pointed out, maybe it will be up to the next generation to do that, because the current generation is making a pretty poor job of it.
Stuck in their ways, it seems.
James, thank you very much indeed. James Creedon there with Media Watch.